But let's quickly touch base with our correspondent, Charles Oberum, who is live for us, Port Harcourt, the River State capital. Charles, I don't know if there's any protests lined up for today, but you've been covering previous protests. I mean, seeing the women in all white for state of emergency, another group of women against state of emergency on black. Walk us through that experience and the mood of Port Harcourt this morning over the past few days.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Kennedy, Buki, and Jeff. As of this morning, I'm not aware there's a protest in Port Harcourt. I think yesterday's protests were enough, so to speak, that's on a lighter note anyways. So yeah, of course, yesterday's protests held in two different places in the States. The ones who were on white held their protests in Port Harcourt, while the other ones who were older, you see more older women, held their own protests at Mbiama in Ahoda West local government area, close to the boundary with Bayelsa. They were holding roughly at about the same time, okay? Now, the ladies on white, their protest appeared to me to be like something as though a response to last week's protest, because they were protesting, or rather, I wouldn't even call that a protest. I would call that like something like a solidarity march, if you like, because they were marching in solidarity with the sole administrator and expressing their support for President Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in the state. And they said, oh, okay, we are happy with it, we want it, we like it, and we are living comfortably with it. And during the interview session, when I was asking some of the ladies there, some of us journalists, we raised the question. The president said it's going to be 6 months. What are you looking at? And interestingly, one of the women there said, oh, that it should even go beyond 6 months. Right? It should go as long as required until peace, returns to River State. And that was very fascinating for me. So that was the one that happened in Port Harcourt. As for the one that happened in Mbiama, that one was, one calling for the return of the governor, the suspension of the state of emergency, and the return of all elected officials who were suspended by President Tinubu. Howdy.
Well, I know we'll still talk at some point about this mobilization economy or the culture of it. But I don't know, Bukola Jeffrey, if you want to chime in on this one as well.
Well, for me, Charles, I wonder what these series of protests is saying about sentiments amongst Rivers people, because there seems to be a lot of contradictions from the sound bites that we're hearing. You saying, for instance, that they say that since the coming in of the military administrator, there has been peace, no ethnic divisions. But is that the sense that you're getting, Charles, particularly when you cover these protests? They are saying return Sim, and these other people are saying no, there has been peace, there's no more division. What sense are you getting when you interact with Rivers people, particularly about ethnic sentiments and how it is coloring these political crises in Rivers?
Okay, so I'll answer that question, but before then, let me just quickly chime in on something Kayode said. He said something about mobilization. I tell you that the business of mobilization for protests is an economy of its own. Yeah, just so you know. There are people whose job it is to mobilize people to come out for protests. But we'll leave that now. If we leave that now, that's going to be conversation for another day. Now, about ethnic divisions with regards to peace and the situation. The truth is this. All through the political crisis, people outside River State thought or believed, erroneously I must add, that the state was unsafe. The states, had a lot of crisis going on. So we have to delineate two of them. There was a political crisis. On one hand, it affected the executive arm of government versus the legislative arm of government. But this political crisis did not result, or there was no domino effect, which made it look like there was a breakdown of law and order. People go about their normal businesses here in River State. People go to school, go to work, run their businesses, and there is really nothing on the street to show that anybody is threatened physically here in the state. So I have to draw that, separation here. Now, about the issue of ethnic crisis or an ethnic war, there is really no ethnic war here. We've heard rhetorics from people, on social media releasing videos. Oh, if you do this, we will do that. If you do that, we will do this. But at the end of the day, it almost always ends as though it's just words, being bantered from one group to the other. We've never really seen it result, into a breakdown of law and order.
Well, Charles, there's still the 300 million naira conversation, which I'm sure we'll be exploring in the coming days. But we have to thank you. You've said so far it looks like it's going to be a calm day today, but I trust that you get back to us as soon as anything breaks. Correspondent Charles Operum joining us live from Port Harcourt. Thank you so much for the update.
Thank you, Gary. Have a great day.
Well, that's a prayer. We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, well, your guess is as good as ours as to where we're starting off from. So stay with us. We'll be right back.